My fiancée cheated with my younger brother in our bed. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mother defended them. But 3 years later, she came back begging with a daughter my brother abandoned and a letter demanding I pay for everything. I'm 34 years old, work as a corporate lawyer at a firm I'm not going to name, and it's been 3 years since I've spoken to my mother or my younger brother. People always ask me why, and the truth is, the story is so messed up that sometimes even I can't believe it happened to me. I guess I should start from the beginning, when everything seemed perfect, or at least that's what I thought. I met Nicole when we were like 26, at one of those boring legal conferences where everyone spends the day pretending they care about new tax regulations. She worked at another firm, also as a lawyer, and we connected immediately because we were both equally bored to death. We started dating like 2 months later, and for 5 years everything was good. I mean, we had our problems like any couple, but nothing serious, you know? I saw her as the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and when I proposed like 4 years ago, she said yes without hesitating. We started planning the wedding, looked for venues, tasted cakes, all those things engaged couples do, and I was happy, genuinely happy for the first time in a long time. My family is small. It was always just my parents, my brother Justin, and me. Justin is 4 years younger than me, and since we were kids, he was always my mother's favorite, literally. When we were children, if Justin broke something, somehow it ended up being my fault for not watching him better. If he got bad grades, it was because I wasn't helping him enough with homework. My father was more neutral, let's say, but he didn't do much to balance things out either. Justin grew up being a slacker, basically. He never finished college, worked at whatever for a few months and then quit, always had a different excuse. He was handsome. I won't deny that, and he knew how to use that to get what he wanted, especially with women. And he was like 27 when all this happened, and had already had more girlfriends than I could count. No relationship lasted, more than a few months, because he was basically a player who didn't know how to commit to anything or anyone. The thing is that Nicole and I had the wedding scheduled for October, like 3 months away, and suddenly she lost her job. Her firm had massive layoffs and she was out, along with 50 other lawyers. It was horrible for her, honestly, because she had worked there like 5 years and thought she had a future at that place. I told her not to worry, that I made enough for both of us while she looked for something new, and that we also had savings. Nicole was depressed for like 2 weeks, barely got out of bed, and I tried to cheer her up, but didn't really know what to do. Eventually, she decided she needed to do something productive while sending out CVS, and she enrolled in a pottery class at a studio near our house. I thought it was a good idea, like something to keep her busy and distracted. And at first it seemed to work because she came back more upbeat after classes. What I didn't know, and I found this out later in the worst possible way, is that Justin had also enrolled in that same pottery class. I don't know if it was coincidence or if my mother suggested he go, because she knew Nicole was going there. To this day, I'm not sure, and honestly, it doesn't matter anymore. The point is, they started spending a lot of time together. Nicole told me she had made new friends in the class, that sometimes they stayed after to practice more or went for coffee, and I thought it was great that she was socializing and coming out of her depression. Justin also started coming to the house more often, which he didn't do much before, and said he wanted to spend more time with his future sister-in-law, that he wanted to get to know her better before the wedding. I, like an idiot, thought he was finally maturing and trying to be more part of the family. Like 2 months went by like that, and I started noticing weird things. Nicole was always on her phone, like, obsessively. And when I asked who she was talking to so much, she said people from the pottery class, or recruiters about jobs. She started dressing up more for classes, wearing perfume, putting on makeup, and when I commented on it, she said she just wanted to feel good about herself, that it had helped her self-esteem after losing her job. Justin was also acting strange, like happier than normal, and my mother commented that she finally saw him excited about something in life. I started feeling something in my stomach, you know? Like that feeling that something isn't right, but you can't identify what exactly. One night, like 3 weeks before the wedding, I confronted Nicole. I told her I felt she was distant, that she spent too much time away from home, that she was always with Justin at family gatherings and barely paid attention to me. She got really angry, told me I was being paranoid, that I was just stressed about the wedding and projecting my insecurities onto her. She made me, I feel like a jealous, irrational person. Like, she gave me this whole explanation about how her friendship with Justin was completely innocent and that I should be happy they got along because he was going to be part of the family. I wanted to believe her. I really did. So, I apologized for doubting her and tried to forget my suspicions. 2 weeks later, I had to travel for work to another city, an important case that required me to be there like 4 days. Nicole took me to the airport, gave me a goodbye kiss, told me she loved me and would miss me. The second day of the trip, we finished earlier than expected. The negotiations were faster than we thought, and I decided to return that same night to surprise Nicole. I didn't tell her. I wanted to arrive with flowers and maybe take her to dinner. A romantic thing, you know? I took the 9 o'clock flight, got home like at 11:30, and when I entered the house, everything was dark except for the light from our bedroom on the second floor. I went up the stairs and started hearing noises. At first, I didn't process what they were. My brain didn't want to accept it. But when I got to the bedroom door and opened it, there were Nicole and Justin in our bed. In the bed I shared with her, having sex. They froze when they saw me. Nicole screamed my name, and I literally felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. I don't remember exactly what happened in the next few seconds. Everything was in slow motion, and at the same time, too fast. The next thing I know is that I lunged at Justin and started hitting him. I punched him 3 or 4 times in the face before Nicole pulled me and screamed for me to stop. Justin was bleeding from his nose and lip, and Nicole was trying to cover herself with the sheets while crying. I was shaking, literally shaking with rage, and the only thing I could think was that this couldn't be happening, that it had to be a nightmare. I yelled at them to get dressed and get out of my house, and Nicole started with how we could talk, to let her explain. But I didn't want to hear anything. I grabbed her by the arm, not hard but firmly, and pulled her out of the bedroom. I threw her clothes at her, told her she had 5 minutes to get dressed and leave my house or I'd call the police. Justin came down the stairs with his face all swollen, saying nothing, and Nicole kept begging me to listen to her. I opened the door for them and basically pushed them outside. Nicole kept crying and saying my name, but I closed the door with the lock and stood there in the entrance, trying to breathe. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. My fiancé and my younger brother in my bed 2 weeks before our wedding. I sat on the hallway floor and stayed there. I don't know how long. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. Just staring at the wall and feeling like someone had emptied me out inside. The next day, Justin showed up at my house. His face was purple and one eye almost closed from the swelling, and when I opened the door, he told me we needed to talk. I don't know why I let him in. I guess part of me needed to understand what the hell had happened. We sat in the living room and he told me, and I swear this is verbatim, that he was in love with Nicole. That they had connected in the pottery class in a way he had never experienced with anyone, that at first he tried to resist because he knew it was wrong, but that eventually he couldn't anymore. He showed me his phone with messages between him and Nicole. Hundreds of messages where they told each other they loved each other, where they planned to see each other secretly, where they talked about how hard it was to keep the secret. I asked him how long it had been going on, and he told me 2.5 months, practically since Nicole started the pottery classes. I asked him if they had had sex before, and he said yes, several times, in hotels, in the car, in the house. When I wasn't there, I felt like a knife was being stuck in my chest with every word. I asked him why. Why would he do something like that? And he just said he hadn't planned it, but it happened, and he didn't regret it because he loved Nicole. I told him to get out of my house and that I never wanted to see him again in my life, and he left without saying anything else. That same afternoon, I canceled the wedding. I had to call the venue, the catering, all the vendors, and explain that there would be no wedding anymore. We lost half the deposits, but I didn't care. I just wanted everything to disappear. I called my parents and told them what had happened. And my mother, instead of reacting with indignation or supporting me, asked if I was sure about what I had seen, if maybe I had misinterpreted the situation. I told her no, that I had literally found them having sex in my bed, and she went quiet. My father at least had the decency to say he was sorry and that Justin had done something unforgivable. 2 weeks later, Nicole called me. I had blocked her number, but she called from another phone. She told me she needed to talk to me, that it was important. I told her we had nothing to talk about, but she insisted so much that I eventually agreed to meet at a public cafe. When I arrived, she was there with red eyes from crying so much, and she told me she was pregnant. I felt like someone had kicked me in the stomach. I asked whose it was, and she told me Justin's. That she was 100% sure because the dates matched and because we had used protection the last times we had had sex, her and I. I don't know what she expected me to say or do, but all I felt was disgust. I told her that was her and Justin's problem, that I had nothing to do with it, and I got up to leave. She grabbed my arm and begged me not to go, that she still loved me, that it had been a mistake, that Justin had manipulated her. I told her I didn't care, that she had made her choice when she slept with my brother in my bed, and I left the cafe. My mother called that night. She told me Nicole had told her about the pregnancy and that Justin wanted to take responsibility, that they were going to have the baby and were planning to get married. I asked her why she was telling me this, and she said that as a family we had to support them, that yes, what they had done was wrong, but now there was a baby on the way and we had to think about the future. I told her I had no obligation to support anything, that Justin and Nicole had destroyed my life and they could all go to hell. My mother started crying and told me I was being selfish, that Justin was my brother, and brothers forgive each other. I hung up on her. Justin and Nicole got married when she was like 4 months pregnant. It was a small wedding at my parents' house. Basically, my mother insisted there had to be a wedding because they couldn't have a child out of wedlock, that old-fashioned mentality she has. I obviously wasn't invited. Or, if I was invited, I don't know because I blocked all their numbers. My father called to tell me they were getting married and asked if I would consider going, even if just for a few minutes. But I told him, no, that was asking too much of me. After the wedding, I cut off contact with my mother and Justin, completely. I changed my phone number, blocked all their social media profiles, told my friends I didn't want to know anything about them. With my father, I maintained minimal contact. We talked maybe once a month, but I made it very clear I didn't want him to tell me anything about Justin or Nicole or their situation. He respected that, at least at first. Like 6 months after all the drama, I decided I needed a complete change. I requested a transfer at my firm to another city, like 5 hours from where I lived. I sold my house, the one I had shared with Nicole, because I couldn't stand being there. I packed all my stuff and moved. It was like starting from scratch. And honestly, it helped me a lot. In the new city, nobody knew my story. Nobody looked at me with pity or asked how I was doing after what happened. I could focus on my work, made new friends, even dated some women, though nothing serious because I still had too many trust issues. 3 years went by like that. 3 years in which I built a new life for myself. I bought a new apartment. They made me partner at the firm. I was basically doing well, or at least as well as I could be considering everything. I talked to my father every 2 or 3 months, short conversations where he asked how work was and I asked how he was, without touching on family topics. I thought I had finally left everything behind, that I had closed that chapter of my life and could move forward. Like 2 months ago, on a Friday night, someone rang my apartment doorbell. It was like 8 at night and I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and almost had a heart attack when I saw Nicole standing there with a small girl in her arms. The girl would be like 2.5 years old, maybe almost 3. I froze, not knowing what to do. And she rang again, and I heard her voice saying my name, saying she knew I was there and to please open the door. I opened the door, but didn't let her in. I asked what the hell she was doing there and how she had gotten my address. Nicole looked terrible, honestly, like she hadn't slept in days, with unwashed hair and wrinkled clothes. The girl was asleep in her arms. She told me she needed my help, that she had nowhere else to go. I asked where Justin was and she started crying, told me he had left, that he had abandoned her like 2 weeks ago and she didn't know where he was. I told her that wasn't my problem and tried to close the door, but she put her foot to block it. She told me my mother had given her my address, that she had told her to come talk to me. I felt the rage rising up my throat. I couldn't believe my mother had done that after 3 years of respecting my space. Nicole showed me a letter, like an envelope my mother had given her, and told me my mother said it was my responsibility to help them because it was family. I read the letter right there in the hallway. My mother had written like 2 pages about how Justin had turned out to be irresponsible, that he had abandoned Nicole and his daughter Hannah, that he didn't pay child support or help financially, that she and my father couldn't keep supporting them because they didn't have the resources. And at the end, it said that I, as the responsible older brother, had to do the right thing and help Nicole and my niece, that I couldn't let a single mother and a baby end up on the street because of pride. I laughed. I literally laughed in Nicole's face when I finished reading the letter. I told her my mother was completely crazy if she thought I was going to clean up the mess she and Justin had created. Nicole started begging, told me she had no job, no money, nowhere to stay, that the girl was innocent in all this. I told her she was right, that Hannah was innocent, but that didn't make her my responsibility. I asked her why she wasn't looking for Justin, and she told me she didn't know where he was. That one day, he simply didn't come home and sent her a message saying he couldn't handle the responsibility of being a father anymore and needed to find himself or some shit like that. I went into my apartment, leaving Nicole in the hallway, and got my checkbook. I wrote her a check for $5,000, gave it to her, and told her that was the only thing I was going to do for her. That with that, she had enough for a few months of rent and food while looking for work, but that after this, I didn't want to see her or hear from her ever again. To go to social services, to ask for government help, to sue Justin for child support, to do whatever she had to do, but to leave me alone. Nicole took the check and asked me if that was all, if I really didn't care, that her daughter, technically my niece, was going to go through hardships. I told her Hannah wasn't my niece, that I had no relationship with that girl and didn't plan to have one, and that whatever happened to her or Nicole was a consequence of their own decisions. I told her to leave and closed the door. I heard her crying in the hallway for like 5 minutes before she finally left. That same night, I called my father. I was furious, like angrier than I had been in years. I yelled at him about how he dared give my address to Nicole after 3 years, that he had completely betrayed my trust. My father tried to explain that my mother had insisted, that she felt I had to know what was happening, that it was my family. I told him they weren't my family anymore, that a family doesn't do what they did to me, that my mother had chosen Justin over me from the beginning, that she had defended him when he destroyed my life, and that now she wanted me to fix the mess her favorite son had caused. My father was quiet for a moment, and then told me maybe I was right, that maybe they had been unfair to me, but that at the end of the day, they were still my family, and that someday I would regret cutting ties like this. I told him I doubted that very much and hung up on him. That was the last time I spoke to him. Like a week later, Nicole sent me a text message from another unknown number. It said she had cashed the check, thanks for the help, but that she still needed to know where Justin was because she had a right to child support for Hannah, that if I knew anything or could help her find him. I didn't respond immediately, but the idea kept going around in my head. Justin was a coward who had abandoned his daughter, but technically Nicole was right that he should pay child support. I called a friend who works as a private investigator and asked him to find Justin. It cost me like $1,000, but in 3 days I had an address in another city, like 7 hours from where I lived. Apparently, Justin was living with a new girlfriend, working at a bar, basically doing the same as always, being an irresponsible slacker. I sent Nicole a text message with Justin's address, the name of the bar where he worked, and told her to go with a lawyer, to sue for custody and child support, and to stop bothering me. I also sent her one last message telling her I understood her situation was difficult, but that I wasn't the solution to her problems. That she and Justin had made decisions that destroyed my life and that I had spent 3 years rebuilding myself. That the money I gave her was more than she deserved, considering what she had done to me, but that I was doing it for Hannah, not for her. To look for a job, to rebuild her life like I had had to do, and to never try to contact me again. I transferred her another $3,000, told her it was definitely the last, and blocked that number too. I haven't heard anything from Nicole since then. I've been like 6 weeks now. My mother tried to call me a couple of times from unknown numbers, but I recognized her voice and hung up immediately. My father hasn't tried to contact me again. I guess they finally understood I'm serious when I say I want to be out of their lives. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, if I was too harsh or if I should have helped more. But then I remember that night 3 years ago when I came home and found my fiancé and my brother in my bed, and I remember how my mother chose to defend them instead of supporting me. And I realize I don't owe them anything. They made their choices, and now they have to live with the consequences. Just like I've had to live with the consequences of their actions for 3 years. I'm okay now, or at least better than I was. I still have trouble trusting people, especially in romantic relationships. I'm dating someone currently. We've been together like 6 months, and she knows the whole story. She's patient with me. When I have my moments of paranoia, or when I struggle to open up emotionally, I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully trust someone again, but I'm working on it. What I do know is that I did what I had to do to protect myself. I set boundaries, cut toxic ties, and rebuilt my life from scratch. And if that makes me selfish or resentful in my family's eyes, honestly, I don't care. They had their chance to do the right thing and chose not to, so now I choose my own peace of mind over their idea of what family should be.